And now to the biggest headline from South Asia. Nepal could be turning into a gateway for Chinese nationals, smuggling, cyber fraud and bride trafficking. Unlawful activities by Chinese nationals in Nepal is on the rise. A crackdown is underway, but Kathmandu seems to be hesitant in asking too many questions from Beijing. Why is a country that takes pride in its history of never having been colonized letting Beijing define the narrative? We'll try to understand in this report. First, let's tell you what's happening. At least 85 Chinese nationals were detained in Nepal yesterday. This is in addition to 122 Chinese men and women who were rounded up earlier this week. The reason is the same for all these arrests. Nepalese police believes that these people were involved in poaching, bank frauds and illegal trade activities in Nepal. They have been detained from various locations inside Kathmandu with a large cache of electronic devices. But look at how Nepal's media is spinning the story. Look at the headlines on your screen. China gets Nepal to detain its citizens in Kathmandu. They're giving the credit to China. Contrary to how it is being portrayed, the situation is not entirely positive. Nepal seems to be more than happy to play ball at the expense of its own security. To understand Kathmandu's tilt towards Beijing, let me take you back to October. Xi Jinping was in Nepal, and it wasn't just another visit. Xi Jinping was the first Chinese leader to visit Nepal in 23 years. And here's what he said. I'm quoting, Nepal would no longer remain a landlocked nation. It would now be land-linked. And that's a huge political statement. What does it tell you? It tells you that China is increasing its footprint in Nepal. Nepal is a country which never figured high in the scheme of things for China, neither geostrategically nor economically, but now there is sudden interest. China wants to wean Nepal off India's sphere of influence. Influence that could also allow Tibetan separatist activities in Nepal. What China wants is for Nepal to stay predictable, and it's succeeding. Beijing is getting closely involved in Nepal's security and political architecture. Top officials from Beijing are visiting Kathmandu regularly. Nepal, on the other hand, sees this as an opportunity to diversify its options. Why only depend on India? Just yesterday, we told you how China is buying influence through indiscriminate lending. Let me elaborate on this. China's growing investments in Nepal's economy are giving rise to a lot of concerns. The BRI, we know, is the biggest debt trap. Chinese presence is not just in small projects, but in substantive ones. Just 140 kilometers north of Nepal's capital, Kathmandu, China's Belt and Road project is on in full swing. Infrastructure projects are mushrooming. Nepal is in dire need of foreign direct investment too. It envisions graduating from a low-income country to a middle-income country by 2030, which is fine. To help Kathmandu, Beijing has opened Chinese banks in Nepal. Increased flights are bringing greater number of Chinese visitors to Nepal. The influence extends well beyond transport and tourism. China is growing its influence through technology. A fiber optic link was inaugurated in 2018. Huawei concluded a deal this year to develop a 4G network in Nepal. There's influence even in the religious domain. Atheist China is trying to co-opt Tibetan Buddhism in Nepal, and this could be part of a broader campaign to marginalize Tibetan separatists. This is a grand plan. I want to end this by saying that there's a need for a global watchdog then to keep a check on China's growing investments and influence. This is something that we've been raising because the results are evident. Countries like Nepal are reluctant in taking issues to a higher level. China's methods to exert influence beyond its borders need to be monitored.